Today on Lead with Love, what we're going to focus in on are these New Year's resolutions, of which I can almost guarantee that most of the people that are viewing this have to do with weight loss. So we're going to talk about weight loss today on Lead with Love. Hi, everybody. My name is Chris Greco. For the next 30 minutes, we'll be talking about different aspects, lead with love, learn, offer, value, educate. So things I've learned, things that I'm going to offer to you, share with you. Hopefully you will share with others, and not necessarily verbatim, but you'll improve it, share it, that type of thing. This is called weight loss advice from an amateur, which it really is. But I want to tell you that I've tried all different types of things having to do with weight loss. I mean, different fad diets, different, vegetarian diets, veggie diet, vegan diets, all the different types of things. What they call it, paleo diets. And the bottom line on this whole thing is that it really comes down to common sense. Now, there are people that can go out there and they can incorporate some of these suggestions, recommendations, whatever you want to call them. But understand, I am not a registered dietitian. I am not a doctor. I am not, I'm not a weight loss expert. I'm an amateur. I've done a lot of different weight loss things, fads, like I said, and Adkins and the rest of it. And I'm going to tell you, it really comes down to some basic common sense approach. So let's do those and let's see how that all works. And it's very, very important, when we talk about these things, right? So why is it so hard to lose weight, right? What can I do to keep my weight down? What can not just lose it, and then all of a sudden you find yourself in a situation where you're gaining it right back. But it is, what is losing weight, and what is there about that's hard, right? So I'm gonna let this thing draw out again. This is Doodly, by the way, and it works pretty well. So this is what we're going to talk about today. Now, maybe you're going to get all kind of different advice, and I get it. It's going to be all kind of different advices. Maybe just eat more protein. Maybe just eat more carbs. Maybe skip a meal. Maybe exercise more. This thing about fat, or maybe more fat in a diet, and it all comes down to, they talk about these different aspects and everything else. And yes, I'm sure that those things work for different individuals, and this is, again, based on individual aspects. So again, I'm not a registered dietitian. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a pharmacist. Not anything having to do with the public health system, period. Whatever I tell you here, the big disclaimer is that, it's just some advice, some weight loss advice. You take it, toss it, whatever. Skip a meal, that type of thing. It's scary stuff, because people will actually go dehydrated, trying to lose weight. It's scary. And January is, the month with which to do that. So that becomes even more scary when you talk about that. So let's talk about simple approaches, right? The old Occam's razor thing, right? Do not make something more redundant than necessary, or the simplest answer is probably the best. So what can we do about dieting without dieting, right? This is very, very important. You have to understand that some people will diet, they'll just fast, right? And there are studies that are saying, fasting is okay. But you got to keep up the protein. Even the vegans will tell you, you can't just give up protein. It's not just salads every day. It's not something, you got to bring in the protein somewhere along the line there. And vegans do it through beans and nutritional yeast, some of the other things that they do. So you have to make sure that you include those things that are important for nutrition, or else you'll get sick. You literally will get sick. You'll be malnourished, right? And the big deal, right? I am not a doctor. I'm not a health professional. The only thing that I've done is I've had heart disease now for about 30 years. I've had over 7 heart procedures, including angioplasty, atherectomy. If you don't know what this is, look it up. I was one of the first people to have it in the United States, and heart bypass, a triple bypass, right? I've tried many diets and fads trying to lose weight. Many diets, many fads trying to lose weight. And you know, some of them work, some of them don't, and if they do work, they work for short periods of time, and then that becomes a problem, right? So what I found was the best solution, right? And this is just basic stuff. And the thing is, interesting about it is you can use this whole thing. Ah, sorry about that. So you can show this whole thing, right? And it will. Let me go forward here. Okay. So let me just let's see what do we got here. There we go. So you start with a simple approach, right? As we said before, I'm not a dietitian. I'm just not. This is what I have. Tried many fads, many diets, whatever else is going to happen there, and that becomes a problem. So what I found was the best solution, right? Was watching your portions. Watch the portions. I mean, this tends to be so daggum simple, and yet, from that situation when you talk about that, it's just very difficult to do. So, uh, if you know, it's not what you eat, but how much you eat. That's really important. So make sure that you have portion control, especially when you're eating out. Eat a variety of foods, vegetables, fruits, very important. And soup. Soup is just the best food ever, and it's so easy to make. Broth based, right? Not cream based. Cream based, you tend to get into the cream stuff. That's it's going to be a lot of extra calories. Yeah, it's going to taste good, but it's going to also wear in your stomach too. It's going to be your stomach's going to take a while to be able to digest that. So I make broths, broth based, right? Chicken broth based, protein and veggies. you know, really helps to fulfill the nutritional requirements, and it helps to fill you up. So and it's liquid. So there's a liquid component to that whole thing. Just have to be careful about the amount of salt you put in there. So just be careful about sodium aspects. Stay away from the pills aspect. Studies show they don't do well as real food. And what you're doing is you're taking two pills and you're saying, okay, this is what I have. The problem is that the amount of pills you're taking, take a look at that. Let's see how many pills you're taking and how much is in a bottle and how much you're going to be spending every single week, every month on on bottles of this stuff when you could go out and get fruits and veggies. And a lot of people say, oh, I can't eat that many fruit and veggies. There was an NPR radio hour where they had a gastroenterologist. They're the ones that take care of your gut, right? And she was saying that a lot of people, they have this plant-based phobia thing where they feel that they have to have broccoli or they have to have this or they have to have that. Plant-based means if you have almond milk, that's plant-based. So you have cereal with almond milk. Guess what? That's plant. You're supposed to have 30, 20 or 30, something like that per week. And a lot of people say, oh, what are we going to do? Cinnamon is a plant. So if you put cinnamon in your coffee, whatever, that's a plant. Any type of sage, rosemary, thyme, all those things are plant-based. If you add that, that counts as a plant-based aspect to the meal. So the spices, right? And now salt is not plant-based. Just to let you know, salt is a mineral, so that don't think you put more salt in. That's a problem. So those are the things you have to take into consideration, and that's what's really important. So that's just my recommendation. You do what you want. If you feel that these pills, for whatever reason, are making you feel better, then it's all up here. It's all up here. It's not in your gut. It's up here. So that's the idea. And I'll tell you a quick story. When I was in high school, there was at that time, in late 60s, early 70s, and we had track, ran track, and there was this one guy running track, and he says he had this pair of earphones like I have on that fed in, you could turn them on and they would feed in like music and radio, basically radio that you could wear. Big deal at that time. And he told the coach, he said, coach, I'm running faster. I'm running faster with these things on. I'm running so much faster. And one of the other runners said, coach, do something about this guy, whatever else he says. Coach says, I don't care if he carries a portable TV set as long as he runs. And this is the idea that it's up here, right? What is it? The 6 inches that makes a difference, right? Between here and here. So that's the deal. And again, my recommendation, don't have to take it at all. Don't feel like I'm forcing you. But I'm already taking pills. If they make you feel fine, don't do it. But I don't want to do all those things, right? That's what people say. I don't want to do all those things. Then just do the portion control, right? Try one thing. Try portion control. Portion control is something that it'll help you. I mean, my wife and I, we share meals. It's really cool. You share a meal rather than eating the whole thing if you have somebody to share it with. If you don't, ask for a to-go container with your meal. So with the meal, ask for a to-go container. Put half the meal in that container, out of sight. Close the lid. Put it out of sight. Eat the rest. Okay. Get a cup versus a bowl at takeout. So you have a bowl of soup. Get a cup of soup. Small things will add up or not add up as time goes on, right? So you want to make sure that and why? Why am I saying to do all this, right? Why am I saying to make this happen? Well, something I've learned in the past is that if you stop eating after a certain time, yes, you're going to feel a little hungry before you go to bed, but it's better that you feel hungry going to bed than you feel full going to bed. And the reason is because the more that you feel full, the more that you're gonna, it lays again heavy on your stomach, and that means there's food in your stomach while you're trying to sleep, and you're trying to digest this food, and you're laying down, which if you have any type of GERD or any type of hiatal hernia or anything else, it's going to bother you. So I make a time and I stick to it, right? Make it at least 2 hours before bedtime. Don't eat and then go to bed. Don't eat and go to bed. People do that. They're like, what is Dagwood, who used to have sandwiches right before he went to bed, that type of thing, or get up at 2 in the morning and have sandwiches. Stay away from that if at all possible. Nothing after that time. If you say, I'm going to stop eating after 6 o'clock at night, stop eating after 6 o'clock at night. And if you want a lifesaver or you want to chew some gum, whatever, have at it, right? But that's it's a set time. Boom, that's it. Basically, what you're doing is training your stomach to demand less food, right? The stomach will adapt, and you will eat less to fill the stomach. And the reason is because the stomach is a muscle. I mean, you're training muscles in your body. Train that muscle, right? And you can train it like any other muscle. Expands and contracts based on requirements. Now, the thing is that if a gastroenterologist said, hey, look, this is what I recommend you do that. Don't, I'm not a doctor. I'm not a registered dietitian. I don't know how many times I have to say it. Just, again, simple things, right? And a lot of people sit there and say, well, I mean, less calories in, you're calorie counting. No, I'm really not. I'm just saying half of that amount that you get, especially in a restaurant, A restaurant, they give you more than you can eat. My wife and I will share a meal and then come home the next day. We'll cut that in half and we'll have that and we're full. So it's that type of thing. Now, again, we're old, right? We're older. So, I mean, we're over 60, we're over 65. So that can be that, we have to be careful. I have to make sure that we have enough nutrition, enough hydration, and that we'll talk about hydration here in a second. But basically, that's what we're talking about. And the stomach is a muscle. The more you put in it, expands, the more it's going to want in order to maintain that expansion. And then if you expand it more, it's going to want more. So now your challenge is to bring that back down. So now you can eat enough to keep yourself full without expanding your stomach. It's funny because gastric bypass really kind of does the same thing. It literally it lowers the amount of food that the stomach needs to be able to be full, right? So that's what happens with that. Pretty wild, huh? When you think about it. And that's what that situation is. Again, these are all just suggestions, right? And what about exercise? A lot of people, oh, I'm gonna do exercise. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do that. I sit back and I go, great. You know, exercise is great, but what I see, especially in January, is people going to these different fitness centers and just loading up on weights, or getting on the treadmill and going on there for 30 minutes. Don't do that. If you're not running all year and all of a sudden you sit down, you're going to run on a treadmill for 30 minutes, you're going to hurt yourself. You're going to do something to your muscles. You're going to sprain something. If your heart's not used to that type of thing, you could put that under a lot of stress. So go for walks before and after your meals if you can, right? Especially after meals. Go for a walk. 5-10 minutes, just something, anything, couple of minutes, right? Nothing long. Find an exercise you like, and you will stick with that exercise. Now, my wife and I have been ballroom dancing for decades. We love it. It's great exercise. It's a great social environment. We've loved it for decades. We like it. It does work on. It does have exercise. You learn something while you're exercising. It's a great form of. It's a great form of exercise, and it's great. You can swing. What is it? Swing like fantastic. Whenever you talk about that, so that's just one exercise that you can do and really enjoy yourself. Also, make sure that the exercise has a goal, right? So my wife and I are also part of the Senior Olympics, and we do that every year, and it gives us a goal to, we sign up for the same event, and then we hope to do better in that same event. So we train for that event. So it gives us a purpose for the exercise. If the only purpose you have is to lose weight, well, that's nice, but it's something that should be in a periphery. You should have a goal you go for, and that helps you to lose weight as a matter of course, right? So it works out pretty well. We look a lot like this old couple there. So will this work for everybody? Absolutely not. It takes some commitment to make it work. This is not something that you can just like go out and just in a week you see a difference. There is Losing weight is very, very challenging because you have to figure out what your goal is going to be, but it's got to be a reasonable goal. Like, I'm going to lose 20 pounds in 1 week. No, you're not. And what's going to happen is you're going to become disappointed, and then you're going to forget the whole thing. Um, don't do that. Don't do that. You know, work in half pounds or pounds. Like, I'm going to lose a pound this week, 1 pound. So if you lose 5 pounds, you're in good shape. So then make it more reasonable the next week, and just, work at that and work at it and work at it and work at it. And you'll find that will do, so, start out with a goal. Give your life a purpose beside the weight loss. Learn something, share something, know something. All these things, when I talk about learn, offer, value, educate, that's what I talk about when I talk about having a purpose. Have a purpose in life. And if you have a purpose in life, then that will help you whenever you're talking about this weight loss aspect. Try it. Try it. This is free. It does not demand anything more than eating half of what you normally eat when eating out. So don't you say, I don't want to do this. The next time you're out, try it. Try it. You'll find, yes, the first time you try it, you're going to eat half, and you're going to want that other half so bad it's going to just kill you. Like, oh my gosh, I got to have that. You have it the next day. It works out fine. Don't worry about that. Plus, you get 2 meals out of the deal. And put it in the refrigerator, heat it up. At one point, my wife and I like penne alla vodka. We love it, right? So, but we noticed that they just kind of just throw the cream sauce on there. So what we'll do is we'll take half and put it in a container. We'll split the other half. We'll have that, and then we'll come home and we'll take that half, and we'll and whatever else we have, because we have some left, and I'll make up some pasta. And I'll throw the pasta in there, mix it up, and that, there's enough sauce in there to easily make a whole other 1 meal, maybe 2 meals for both of us. So you make it, you stretch it out like that aspect. So it's very, very important to do that and do it well. Also, salads. Everyone just sits there and says, "Oh, I don't want a salad." A lot of people have salads before their meals. That's fine. In Europe, when I was there, they had salads after their meal. It worked much better. It helps to push that stuff through. So I wait, and I have the salads after my meal. If they bring it before the meal, I have a little bit, and then I have the meal. Then I have the rest of it after the meal. and it works very well for me. Again, this is what I do. You don't have to do any of this. It's not there's nothing required here. It's just to give you some ideas. Give you some ideas. So, what about if I eat at home, right? How do I incorporate some of this stuff from the home aspect, right? Well, you get a bowl, and I have a bowl that equals about 1 cup, and I use that as a measure of portion, and it works out pretty well. So you can fill the bowl with your meal, eat that, even include a salad, another bowl if you want. Have a dessert, but make sure it's half of what you normally eat of that dessert. After that, stop eating. No snacks, no supplemental meal. You're done. Have about an hour later, have a lifesaver or something to just kind of, you know, keep the salivation going. And it's good. If you feel hungry, drink some water, wait a few minutes. And that's basically, it's your body saying, hey, I need more to fill this stomach that you just stretched out. But what you do is you're trying to contract that. It's going to train. It's going to take days to train it, days to train this thing down. So I know you're going to feel hungry, and that's an issue, but just remember that it's for the long-term basis. Now, a lot of people are going to sit back and they're going to try to get you to eat dinner at 7 o'clock. Fine. Going to eat dinner at 7 o'clock or 8 o'clock. Just remember, do not go to bed before 11 o'clock. Because if you do, that meal you just ate is not going to be totally digested. It's going to be effective. Well, it's probably going to take another 2-3 hours after that, but basically, at least you give it a shot, right? And don't just sit on the couch and watch TV either. So get up, kind of walk around, do something, make something in the kitchen, clean up, do something that gives your body the ability to move and digest at the same time. And, that I think will help overall. So drinking water, tons and tons and tons of studies about drinking water. As you get older, you need more liquids. That's the whole deal. I mean, you have to have more liquids. Liquids are just so important to your body, right? So be reasonable about it, but measure your water intake. And people say, oh, you can have coffee, you can have tea, you can have yeah, go ahead. I mean, bottom line is have at it. If you want coffee, you want tea, whatever it is, just understand that if coffee's caffeinated, tea's caffeinated, caffeine can um, contribute to dehydration. So you have to be careful about that. As you get older, you need more liquid, so you need more than what you have. Now, one set of standard, and this is one set, it says 1/2 ounce of water for every pound you weigh. So if you weigh 160, then 80 ounces of water. That's a lot of water. You don't want to do this. You want to do it gradually. You don't want to do it all at once. You're going to be running to the bathroom about every 5 minutes. Like everything else in your body, you got to train it. So take water slowly. Yeah, I don't like water. Put a little bit of lemon in it. Put a lemon in it. Put something in there to give it a little bit of a flavor. Some cucumber, something to give it infused water, right? And so you have to be careful. Your purpose is to provide lubrication for your digestive tract. That's why you drink water, is to provide water so in your digestive tract, so that the food moves through your digestive tract, right? People say, well, I have liquids, I drink. Well, if you drink alcohol, that could be an issue. And that's, because again, it's dehydration. It's not really you're not really hydrating. The whole idea is your purpose is to provide lubrication for your digestive tract, not to drown yourself. So don't think I'm going to sit down and drink 80 ounces of water within the next 40 seconds to make up for all that time today that I didn't drink water. That's a problem. That's an issue. Don't do that. Don't do that. You will get sick. In fact, you could kill yourself if you do something like that. So you have to really be careful. So what's a summary about this whole thing, right? Temperance in all things, right? Going back to the Bible, right? Temperance in all things. Watch the fad pills, watch the fad diets, and paying for weight loss advice when you have the answers in front of you, right? And if you can't do it alone, then get help. But it's not getting the weight off, it's keeping it off. That's on you. That's on you. And there are weight loss programs you're going to pay for that will say, oh, well, we'll track you. You're going to pay for that tracking. Folks, if you have a scale, you can track yourself. This is something that bothers me, and I realize it's entrepreneurship and the rest of that. But why are you paying people to help you lose weight when it is your weight, it's your body. So, I mean, you have to really have a commitment there. And if your commitment is, I'm going to spend this much money to do weight loss, why not just follow some common sense stuff and drop weight? And if you, it's all up to you. That is all up to you. Whatever you do. Look, if you say, I cannot do this by myself, I have to have help, then go, of course, go pay for the weight loss program, whatever else. But I'm telling you that everyone has the capability of doing this themselves. This is a major issue to me personally. Personal opinion, is that people are giving up things. They're abrogating their rights to themselves so that they can pay for somebody to tell them to do something that they could do themselves with good old-fashioned common sense. Learn, offer, value, educate. I'm telling you, I've tried all different kinds. I've tried different types of weight. I've read books. Dean Ornish had something, back when I first had my first angioplasty, and I read Dean Ornish. Dean Ornish he's a cardiologist, and he was Bill Clinton's personal physician. Bill Clinton had a heart attack, ended up having a bypass. Dean Ornish told him what to do. He didn't do it. And now he does that. He eats couscous and whatever else is there. But he has a chef to do that. If you have a chef to do it, then life is good. We don't have chefs, right? We're responsible for our own meals. So, but Dean Ornish had this three deal here. Go basically vegan, tofu, everything. Exercise. To beat the band, and meditate. And that was his 3-prong approach. And I sit back and I go, wait a minute, I exercise every day, which I do. I'm a runner, so I go out and run, but I'm not saying you have to do that. That's not, walking is fine. My wife goes out and walks, it works fine. Do I go totally vegetarian? Absolutely not. I like chicken. Every so often I have a steak. Now, will I have one every day? No. Will I have a hamburger every day? No. I don't do that, right? I'll have soups. I'll have, some vegetable stuff. I'll do what I can do to vary up the amount that I have, the type of food that I have. But my wife and we got in this habit. It's a great habit of just splitting meals. We don't have our own meals at restaurants. We discuss what we like. We get it. We split it, and it works out fine. And it has worked out for both of us. And in the beginning, I ate everything is on my plate, and I made sure I did all that stuff. And guess what? I ended up with heart disease, not just because of my weight, but my weight didn't help. And then all of a sudden, I realized that if I lost the weight, it would help me with my hypertension. It would help me with heart disease. It would help me with gastro issues, gastritis, those things. So I mean, I'm very, very, very fortunate with that. So I just want to let you know that this stuff is possible. But, and this is very important, is to understand is that no matter what you do or how you do it, just be common sense about it. Temperance in all things, right? Temperance in all things, right? Especially eating. And if you do that, you're going to be happier. And in overall, it's going to be a happier 2024. Don't look for results like this. And it's going to be, because I noticed this in a lot of commercials. I lost 60 pounds on this diet thing. I lost 50 pounds on this diet thing. I'm going to tell you that, the best advice I ever got was from a chiropractor back in the 1980s. And he was in preventative health, and he was talking to me about different foods to eat, different aspects and everything else. This was before all this paleo stuff and Atkins and the rest of this stuff. And it really made a lot of sense. It really did. So I started to incorporate that, and boom, I lost weight, and I kept the weight off. Now, when I got off of that, when I started eating whatever I wanted, and right before I went to bed, and I stuffed myself and did all kind of things, weight came back because my stomach expanded. So, not saying that this is going to be some miracle thing. I'm just saying start with simple things and work your way up to more complex things. And that, I think, is going to be a good way, a good formula to help you lose weight. Next time on Lead with Love, we're going to talk about Explain 12. and we're going to talk about the different aspects of it and how to get into it and what to do. We'll have like a little demo, the whole thing. Explain 12 next on Lead with Love.